7:30 kickoff. That's between Louisiana and Arkansas State. This line opened up right around that 2.5 price. Not a lot of changes in the marketplace. We see the total, 54.5 at the opening numbers. A little bit lower right now live at 53.5. Louisiana, Arkansas State. Football tonight, Joe. What's your spread line here?
Oh, Donnie, I had to point this game out because this line makes absolutely no sense. Now, we know that the public doesn't get overly involved in these midweek games, right? You know, the Wednesday to Tuesday, the Wednesday to Thursday night game. There's not a lot of public money. There's not a lot of big handle at the sports book. And this is case in point because if the public understood what was going on in this game, they would clearly be favoring Arkansas State here. Now, let me explain to you what's happening. The line on this game would be reasonable, Donnie, if, in fact, Louisiana Lafayette didn't have not one, not two, not 7 players suspended for this game for fighting, and 4 of the top 6 defensive backs that they have, including the one All-American quarterback, Cortland Flowers, their best DB, won't be here for this game. And yet this line continues to sit at Arkansas State at -2.5. Make it make sense, Donnie. Louisiana Lafayette will be playing very shorthanded on that side of the ball come tonight, Donnie.
How about USC and Oregon Saturday, 3:30 kickoff? A big game in the Big Ten as USC travels to Oregon. This line opened up around a touchdown favorite, Joe, but now we're creeping closer to 10s in the marketplace in a 59.5 total. Seems to me, Joe, it's one of those eliminator games that we're going to have. 6-1 in conference play, USC. 6-1 in conference play, Oregon Ducks. The loser just might be out of the picture altogether in the Big Ten and also in the playoff race. What's your spread line for this one?
Well, we wanted to keep an eye on this one. We mentioned it on Monday, and we wanted to see where the line would go by the time we got a little bit later in the week. And you're right, Donnie. I mean, we saw this thing open up 9.5, 58.5. We did see initial Oregon money push this thing up to double digits, but funny thing happened yesterday, Donnie. I am seeing all the tickets and majority of the money on Oregon. And yet I've seen this line go back to where we started at 9.5. So there is a line in the sand here with this number in double digits. It appears the more influential bettors are taking the points. Anytime you get the 10, they're hammering it back to 9.5. They'll take the 10 with USC. So I don't know that we're going to get much more than what you're seeing here. But ultimately, maybe the best way to look at this is the total, one way or the other, because it appears we're probably going to be getting a few points in this one.
How about a game that's going to kick off, Joe, Saturday at noon, a battle of the Miami Hurricane beaters here. Louisville taking on SMU in a line that had SMU over a field goal, Joe. Somehow it's 4.5, has now crept down to 2.5, still as a favorite for SMU at home. The total, which is up a little bit, that look ahead, 51.5 or so, 53.5 now in the marketplace. Louisville, SMU, and the ACC. What's your spread line here? 2 7-3 teams.
The best situational spot this week, Donnie, comes in this game here where SMU will have extra rest coming off a bye week, and Louisville is reeling. I mean, not only has to travel now back to Texas after back-to-back losses, but it's got to try to figure out how to I don't know how they lost that game, 20-19 at the hands of Clemson there. And now they've got, I believe, Kentucky next week, a rivalry game, of course, coming up, which is huge in the state of Kentucky between those two teams. Not good, but the look-ahead line in a lot of spots, Donnie, 3.5 for SMU, and we're under a field goal now. So there is a lot of Louisville love in the marketplace, thinking that this could be the opportunity for them to get back into it. Anybody who laid the 3.5 early with SMU, you're kind of scratching your head going, what is going on here? The spot favors SMU, but Louisville backed into a corner here with back-to-back losses. This is the spot of the week, Donnie.
College football coming up this weekend. By the way, if you say coming up this weekend, it's been all week long here. Just maybe not the biggest games on the slate that play midweek, but we have a lot of projections to get to. And each and every week, they give you that stupid TV show that gives you updates that don't actually matter and they can't answer any questions. Like, hey, Miami's got 2 losses and Notre Dame has 2 losses and Miami went head-to-head. Why are they below? They can't answer that. It scrambles their brain. But if we take a look at the college football projected bracket today, it does have Miami in right now as a placeholder against Ole Miss. And by the way, if you just told me we removed Tulane and put another SEC team in there, Joe, I love this bracket right here. This is a great bracket.
Yeah, well, and listen, I mean, the argument that James Madison should be in over Tulane is a legit argument too. But the good news is we got a couple more weeks here, Donnie, to let it all sort itself out. But I still don't think they're going to be able to get over the whole Notre Dame Miami argument with, the same identical record, only Miami beat Notre Dame and they could be on the outside looking in. Yeah, that's going to ruffle a few feathers when it's all said and done.
And it should. And again, on this topic where it used to be in the past where, yes, it was if you lost early in the season, you're penalized a lot less than losing late in the season. I understand that. But also you have to understand that, like, Notre Dame lost to 2 good football teams open this year. A&M's good. A&M really hasn't played anybody either. Miami's a good football team. Miami really hasn't played a ton of great football teams either at this point. But when you go back and say the end of the season where head-to-head is the ultimate, like, drawback, like they have both 2 losses, they won. I don't care when they lost. You should get a nod up. But you saw them plotting by keep on moving Notre Dame up to say, well, Notre Dame's like 5 slots ahead. You just can't drop them down. Well, theoretically, that's not the place. Now, things always tend, Joe, to work themselves out down the stretch. Like, yeah, we're expecting Miami to win their final 2 games. Oh, no, they lost to Pitt. Like, that's happened in the past to Miami. And Notre Dame, who knows what happens to them? But I just look at it like that and say to myself, it'll work itself out. If it doesn't, throw out head-to-head. Because if 2 teams have 2 losses at major Division I schools and one team beat the other team goes, stop the madness at this point. And that means also, if Notre Dame have wins over at Alabama and at Georgia and at USC, which, again, they did beat USC, but if you're looking at that, you're saying, well, yeah, these 2 teams aren't similar. But Notre Dame had 2 really good games to start the season and cupcakes all the way after that. We'll see what happens. Let's get to some of the games this weekend, Joe, which includes USC and Oregon, as we talked at the top of the show, going over some spread lines here. 9.5, almost a double-digit favorite for Oregon in this game. And I didn't really check yet. Are they getting some help back at wide receiver for Oregon? Because it seems to me, if the money's coming in on Oregon, they must be getting healthier as well.
Well, yeah, they are. I mean, they were missing their 3 leading pass catchers, but again, Oregon is a place, Donnie, where even the backups are extremely talented there. But as good as those guys are, the best wide receivers on the field are going to be for USC. So this game, whether or not Oregon, not just win it, but if Oregon is going to win it by margin, then that defense of theirs is the one that's going to have to step up, because make no mistake about it, even Iowa and Kurt Ferentz said, those are the best guys I have seen in a very, very long time. They have got guys that can take over a game, and Lincoln Riley's got to win a game on the road at some point, doesn't he, Donnie? Like, at some point, with all that talent, he's got to get it done. I tend to think maybe more points than less points in this game. Wouldn't shock me if we get a wild shootout here. Maybe team totals for both teams. Look at the over here.
How about an ACC eliminator here for the championship game, Joe? Pittsburgh and Georgia Tech, with Georgia Tech as a favorite here. Under a field goal now, just about every outlet, but a lot of points are expected at 61.5. The Jackets in the ACC, 6-1. Pitt in the ACC, 5-1, and away they go.
I think Pat Narduzzi shot himself in the foot. That entire situation of having to answer questions and letting everybody know you didn't care about a Notre Dame game and then getting blown out at home. And now what? We're supposed to just turn it on for Georgia Tech. Now, Georgia Tech is not Notre Dame, certainly not defensively. Yeah. But my goodness, this is the kind of spot that Georgia Tech, Brent Key, the head coach, and, of course, it feels like a 30-year-old quarterback now for Georgia Tech, they have been very difficult. And if this game is a one-score game late, Donnie, I am going to trust Haynes King and Georgia Tech to win this game before I'd ever trust Narduzzi to go on the road and win this.
Texas on life support for the college football playoff, but who knows? Maybe all hell could break loose over the next couple weeks. They knock off A&M and find themselves in the college football playoff, but they are a favorite here. Open up around 9.5. Most outlets here are sitting at 8.5 to 9 as a favorite over Arkansas in a total of 57.5. And Sark answering questions every day about, hey, brother, I think you want to leave, don't you? No, I don't want to leave. So you got that as well.
Yeah, no, yeah, you do. But listen, they should have no problem here against Arkansas. Bad defense. They will put up points. Everything will be well. And then, of course, the big moment of truth is going to come in a couple of weeks when they have to take on Texas A&M. So I'm more worried about maybe A&M in a look ahead than I would be Texas here, who should have no problem against that terrible Arkansas defense.
Now, help me out with this. Wasn't Fran Brown one of the hottest coaching commodities in college football just a year ago for Syracuse? Now they're catching 35.5 from Notre Dame on a disastrous season that sees a 35.5 point spread and a 50.5 total. For me, Joe, I think Notre Dame, again, my angle this weekend is a lot of playoff angles where, yes, the odds maker is going to build into the equation that, okay, here's the statistics and here's what matters. But outside the box, Notre Dame understands they need to run it up because they want more distance from this whole Miami talk and 2 losses here. You can't beat Syracuse by a touchdown. But I'm not going to lay the 35.5, Joe. I'm actually going to take the over 50.5. Notre Dame has a legitimate chance for me to get into the 40s. I just need Syracuse to have 2 scoring drives, and I think we get there. I'm going to take the over in this game, but I do think Notre Dame lays the smackdown on Syracuse. Why? Because they have to.
All right, so let me give you the last 5 games, which happen to be 5 losses for Syracuse. Total points scored 10, 10, 16, 13, 18. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's
over.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, not good, Syracuse. And I think they have a wide receiver playing quarterback. So this should be first half for me, Donnie. To me, Notre Dame, they'll be up 40-3 at the first half.
Yeah, I remember their coach for Syracuse saying in the offseason, like, hey, what happens when people come pill for your program with players? Well, I don't want those players anyway, and we don't bother with them. Looks like he probably needed some of those football players to compete this year. But let me ask you a question about this, too, down the stretch as we see it. Because in the old BCS era, Joe, like margin of victory mattered. And if you had a game where you were favored by 14 points and you were driving with 30 seconds to go inside the 5, usually good sportsmanship is like, hey, the game is over, take a knee. Not the case. Like, you need to score as many points as you can because those computers would read it and say, whoa, 21-point win as opposed to 14 win. That's extra points here in the market for you to move up or down on a ladder. Talk to me about some of these teams, including like the Miami Hurricanes. Like, you are playing to absolutely surprise the pollsters. Like, wow, they won by that much. Or, ooh, that's not a good look. They only won by a few points. Handicapping late in the season, which teams show that need to impress. How do you handle that?
Yeah, well, the whole thing is that you've got human beings making decisions, and recency bias comes into play, Donnie. So if you're going to have the argument between Notre Dame and Miami, and they have the same record, but one team won by 3 at home on a last-minute field goal, then I got to look here and say, well, look at Notre Dame. They're winning 50-7. They're winning, 45. They're destroying everyone. Yeah, it plays into the psyche, like it or not. So the more points and the bigger blowouts, the better off you are, I think.
Let me ask you a question about this one, Joe, because it's rare we see this. I have a game that's totaled at 59.5 points, Joe. The favorite in this game, minus 54.5. That's Texas A&M over Sanford. Now, Texas A&M has Texas on deck after this one. Are you laying the 54.5? Are you saying, like, A&M's going to put up 35 plus in the first half and say, enough. Let's just get ready for next week. We got bigger fish to fry.
Oh, they are absolutely going to have to do that at some particular point. Otherwise, help you. I mean, if somebody gets hurt, I don't know what to tell you.
A&M and Elko on their way. We'll be right back.